take it away.
Hello, everybody. How is everybody doing? I guess it's evening, right?
Almost.
I'm really excited to be here with you today. I'm always excited to work with baby boomers because we are very special people. We are people who are gifted and skilled and knowledgeable. And, you know, sometimes I feel like we don't get the, all of the kudos and understanding and encouragement that we really do deserve. So it's always a pleasure for me to speak with baby boomers. So welcome to Assessing Your Income Options. This is an opportunity for you to maybe look at things a little bit differently than what you have looked at previously, because we're going to be talking about the gig economy. So I want to make sure we're all starting out understanding the same information. So when I use the term gig, put in the chat function what you think I'm referring to when I use the term gig economy. What am I talking about? Anybody? I'm sure you've heard that term before.
So Angela, we're hearing people are saying temporary work. A lot of people are saying freelance work, short-term, part-time, non-staff work, kind of like a short job.
Okay. So you guys understand exactly what we're going to be talking about. And I'll tell you a little bit later as we go along why we're even talking about this subject. Many people don't understand how significant this whole gig economy subject is for us right now. It really is significant. So if you have not already, I'm going to encourage you to take a pause and go and download a copy of the gig assessment. We're going to use this for an exercise.
If everyone could put their Zooms on mute, if you could put your computer on mute, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay. So if you don't already have your gig assessment, go on over to my website and download that. This is a tool that's going to be very useful for you. Because as I said, I love talking to baby boomers because we are just so extremely talented. And sometimes what happens is because we've done so much and because we have so many skills and talents and life experience, we forget some of the great things that we've done. So this gig assessment, generating ideas for gigs, is really designed for you to take a retroactive look at all of the talents and skills that you have and look at them in one place. So I always tell people that we are more than just our job description, the last one we had. And sometimes we forget that. Sometimes, especially when we've been doing the same job for a number of years, we forget about all of the other great things we've done. So I'm going to encourage you to download it. You don't have to really have it for this presentation because we'll just take out part of the exercise and you can do it whether or not you have it. But it is a free tool and I just invite you guys, if you would like to have it, to go ahead and get a copy of that. Okay, so what are we going to be talking about more specifically today? Okay, so we're going to be talking about the state of the talent economy. Everybody knows that things have changed a lot in the last 3 months. And so what does that mean for opportunities to get contract work? We're going to talk about that. Then we're going to talk about what are your personal options, and we'll be doing a breakout group for that, so that you know, you'll have a chance to really think it through, and you're going to have a chance to have people in your breakout room help you think through what your options might look like. And then we're going to talk about gigs that are available right now, because many people need additional income. Many people have been laid off. In fact, I just looked at the stats this morning, and it was something like 42 million people have filed unemployment at some point during COVID virus. Now, some people have actually gone back to work, so that number is probably going to go down over the next few weeks and months, hopefully. But regardless of what that number is right now, we know that a lot of people are out there looking for jobs. They're looking for gigs. So I want to share with you some of the latest information that I have about where jobs are right now, gigs, contract work. And then we're going to talk about the online platforms. And the reason I chose this to talk to you about is because this is probably the most little known marketplace for opportunities, especially by baby boomers. A lot of younger people understand this online marketplace and they're jumping into it. But we have got to do the same things because times have changed. And I'm sure you guys all know that. They've changed a lot. These online platforms are becoming very important for us all. Now, so I want to make sure that I am talking to you guys about things that you're really interested in. So we're going to launch a poll right now. I want to get an idea about where you are with business, with gigs, so that I can kind of customize the presentation to meet your needs. Can we launch the poll? Okay, so describe for us your business building activities. Just click on it. Which one describes you best? When it comes to business, are you hesitant? Maybe you will. Are you ready, but just not sure how you're going to do it? Are you just getting started, or have you already launched into business and now you're ready to grow? Just tap on the answer that best represents who you are. We'll take a few minutes to collect all of the information. And we'll be bringing those poll results up in just a moment. Okay, so we've got a third of the people are hesitant. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. We also have about a third who are just getting started. About 16% of you guys say you're ready, but you're not really sure how. And then 20% are saying that you're ready to grow. So I can be sure that I'm going to give you some information for those of you who are hesitant to maybe help you decide if this is something for you. And for those of you who are just getting started, I hope what we present tonight is going to give you a little more information about this kind of opportunity in the gig economy. Okay. Well, guys, let's get going. Okay, so I want to start off by telling you a little bit about me. I'm not going to bore you with a long presentation about myself, but I do want to tell you a little bit about me because I want to tell you why I am doing this presentation and why perhaps I have something that might be of value for you to pay attention to. So this is my second business, the business that I have now. I had a previous business that I started because I was fired from a job. This happened when I was in my early 20s. But nevertheless, I was fired. And it was the best time in my life. You know why? Because I had the mindset where I was thinking, what a fabulous opportunity. I can get unemployment, and I always wanted to be a business owner, so I can build some kind of business. And so I did. My first company was called Heath and Company. And it was a really successful business for 25 years. I had national clients primarily, including government agencies. I did a lot of work with disease-specific organizations, also with private industry, companies as large as Marriott and as small as JPI. And of course, being in the Washington, D.C. area, I did a lot of work with nonprofit organizations. Guys, things were going really well for me. I was traveling around the country, training and speaking, creating tools that got national recognition, winning awards for myself and also my clients. Things were really good for me. But guess what? The unthinkable happened. This is a photo of some of the medications I had to give my son when he was being treated for cancer. Not something I could have planned for, and not something I would have ever hoped for myself or anyone else, but it was my cross to bear. And so during the time he was being treated for cancer, I closed that first business because, again, I was not going to travel and leave my baby boy alone at home, or in the hospital, I should say. The treatment for leukemia, childhood leukemia, is 3.5 years. And so I didn't work for 2.5 years the first time. He had a relapse, and I didn't work a full year the second time. Now, I was fortunate because I had that first business, and that first business allowed me to amass a lot of resources and investments that I was able to maintain everything in my household without filing bankruptcy. But you can only imagine what that was like. Just curious, have any of you had any kind of life event that just took you off your feet? It just knocked you backwards and you were like, oh my goodness, how am I going to survive this? If you've had that kind of life experience, put a Y in the chat box to indicate, yes, I've had something happen to me also. You know, it's, it can be so, what's the word? You know, just mind-boggling. Karen says yes, Joni says yes, Barb says yes, you know, Edith. So many of you guys, you've had some kind of experience, not this one, but you've had your own experience, right? That it really just kind of knocked you off your game. And you had a setback. And for me, I don't know if it did this for you, but for me, I began to feel like a failure because you know what? When my son was in the hospital, I said, oh, well, let me learn how to earn some income online. And so I started doing all of this stuff, eBay, Etsy, Amazon. I started trying to do all of this stuff and nothing was working. Nothing worked. I felt like a failure. I forgot who I was. I became a hospital mom. I looked like one. I always had on, stretch pants and tennis shoes. And in my mind, I had become a hospital mom. And all hospital moms do is take care of sick people, medication orders, interpreting things from the doctors, being a medical advocate. And so I felt like a failure because I couldn't figure out how am I going to continue to earn income while this child is sick. And so whatever you've been through already, and even those of you who are unemployed right now, you may feel some sense of failure too, because in the United States, it's important for us to have a job because that's part of our identity. When we meet people, what do we say? What do you do, right? And it almost feels like if you say I'm unemployed, it's like, what are they thinking of me? Now, COVID virus is different because so many people are unemployed now, but you may have felt some very strong emotions. But what I want to tell you is that it didn't last for me. Cancer didn't last forever. Unemployment won't last for you forever. Whatever you've gone through or may be going through right now, it won't last forever. There is truly light at the end of the tunnel. And so for me, it led to my next company, which is the one I have now called TKC Incorporated. And guess what I did? In order to form this company, I had a lot of false starts. I looked around, that wasn't quite it, trying to get the business model just right. But what I did is I looked deep inside myself, which is what I want you to do for yourself. And I said, what is it that I can bring to the marketplace that my customers, when I had my successful consulting company, that they said I do very well and that I love to do, and this is it. So this company does speaking and training. We primarily focus on the gig economy. I help people 45 plus figure out how to monetize their skill set, walk them through that whole process. I do a lot of training in corporations, helping them to understand what's the impact of the gig economy on how they source their talent and how they manage their teams, especially now with remote teams. So I do the consulting and the coaching. Now, this is something I'm going to challenge you to do when we get into this exercise in just a moment. I'm going to challenge you to think very broadly about who you are. I'm going to stretch you, your concept about who you are and what you can do. And that's what we all have to do in this COVID economy. So digital services is a new addition to my company, which started with COVID. I'm gonna show you from my own life how this thing happened. So I was volunteering, helping organizations, helping individuals, my friends, customers, just helping them to digitize their businesses, to go online and do, successful events, because I've done a lot of summits and I've done a lot of Zoom broadcasts, and I really know Zoom very, very well. And I was just doing it as a favor. And someone said to me, I bet you can do this for other people. I bet you they would pay you. I said, that's a skill I have. I never thought about monetizing. So I put up a sales page, and in 2 days, I had my first customer. Never promoted it, still haven't promoted it. And 7 days after that, I had my second customer. I am bidding on a contract in another state this week or next week, as soon as it's released. But that is a set of skills that I've had for some years that I could partner with other people to grow an opportunity. And I'm going to challenge you guys to do the exact same thing. So this is the end result. I mean, I've had a really great time with this new company, had a chance to finish my 4th book. I've been on TV, quoted in newspapers and magazines. I was just taping something for Maryland Public Television yesterday. It's been fabulous. This is what I love to do. And I'm in a niche that I really love. And I really love helping people as we mature. So, why are we talking about the gig economy? The gig economy was already growing. About 1/3 of jobs were in the gig economy. And again, for those of you who were not comfortable saying you weren't sure what the gig economy is, I'm just talking about contract work. Short term, it can be part-time, it can be seasonal, but it's not a W-2 job. So this is what has happened since COVID. And I'm only going to give you a few of the most recent studies and quotes that I found in the news. This organization called The Conversation, they said that the reason why the gig economy is going to just explode for professionals is because it costs 16 to 20% for corporations to bring in full-time workers. And when their cash flow is down, are they going to want to spend that extra money when they can go get somebody to sign a contract to get a project done to last for however long they think they need that person? PR Newswire, Harvard, KPMG, all of these guys are talking about the impact of social distancing, of the coronavirus on the gig economy. And what they're saying is that companies are now going to be hiring way more contractors than ever before. They don't have to worry about social distancing. They don't have to worry about paying rent for space that very few people are occupying. They don't have to worry about benefits. From the corporate perspective, the gig economy makes perfect sense. contract professionals make perfect sense. And I don't want you guys to be left out. Because I'll tell you what happened. The last time we had an economic downturn in 2008, people, baby boomers, had the hardest time of all finding jobs to replace their income. In fact, depending on when you looked at the stats, it was somewhere between 6 to 14 months for the average person 50 years of age and older to find replacement income. The gig economy is ripe. So if you're not willing to do some contract work, you may be looking for a job for quite some time. Now, I'm not here to scare you. I'm here to help you. I want you to understand the times that we're living in. Okay, so now let's do the Brilliance exercise. So if you've already downloaded, or if you're going to download the gig assessment, what this tool is designed for is for you to take a look at totality. Who are you and what can you bring to the marketplace? It suggests to you that you think, way back, think about hobbies and skills and life experience and certifications and curiosities and all of these things, right, that you might be able to do. And so we are going to do an exercise. And if you don't have it, don't worry, you can still do the exercise. So what we're going to do first is we're going to do breakout groups. You're going to have 15 minutes in your breakout group. There will be 3 people in your breakout group. So we're going to ask you to take one brilliance that you have, whether it's a hard skill, it's a certification, it's a hobby, it's something you're thinking about you might be able to do in terms of a gig or starting a business. We want you to think of just one, because we only have 15 minutes. And you can present that one area of brilliance that you have, and your 2 partners who are in that breakout group with you, they will say, hey, have you thought about doing X? Have you thought about doing Y? And they're going to help generate some ideas for you on how you can use that one area of brilliance. Does that make sense? Does anybody have any questions before we go into breakout groups?
So Angela, a couple of ones, just logistical. So someone wanted to know if there's a URL for this. I know this is a pop-up on your website, right? But maybe just for ease, if everybody just wants to take a picture of this screen, then you can sort of look at your phone while you're doing the exercise. That might be just the easiest way to do it. But if you'd like to go and get the pop-up, go to Angela's website, tkcincorporated.com, wait just about 15 seconds, 20 seconds, the pop-up will come up, answer your email, and you'll get it. Oh, Vicky just put it in here, so everybody has it now. And then the other question was whether the breakouts will be recorded. No, they won't. The only thing that's being recorded is what's here in the general session.
And if you don't have this tool, you don't need it. You can pick one area that you're brilliant in and let your 2 mates in the breakout with you tell you how you can use that. We don't need a timekeeper because everybody will get 5 minutes. And just share with each other. Okay, for example, you're an artist. You've got this hobby of art and painting. You don't know what to do with it. Can you do anything with it? And the 2 people in the room with you will say, hey, have you thought about maybe painting and selling something on Amazon? Have you thought about maybe painting, hand painting tennis shoes? Have you, they'll just give you a bunch of ideas, and don't evaluate any of them. Just listen to what they think you can do with your brilliance. And then we'll come back and we'll debrief that. So if we can all go into our breakout groups, that would be.
And everyone, when you get your breakout room, your room number, you'll also see a join button. It's blue. So make sure that you hit the join button, and then you'll be put into your room.
And a few people will be moved around so that we get a right distribution. And wait one moment and we'll be on.
Hi, Mike.
Yes.
Are you going to a breakout room?
No, I'm going to move everybody who is presenting into one room. It'll take a few moments to get that done.
Hi, Joni. Unmute yourself.
Hi, I got dumped out of, I was talking to Shira and then all of a sudden I was gone. So I don't know what happened.
Michelle and Peggy, are you also in here?
Yeah, we had a little, there was a little glitch there. Joni, Angela, Joni and I were talking and then I got moved out and here we are.
Yeah.
Peggy, Michelle, Adam, Vicky, if you guys want to open your line and chat with us, you're welcome to. If not, you're happy, you know, certainly feel free to stay silent. Joni and I were having a little conversation. Joni's, she's a writing guru and she's actually been writing for many years. She's been a journalist. She's done marketing communications. And I was just asking Joni, of all the kinds of writing she's done, is there a type that she enjoys doing so much that she could see herself actually doing it sort of in abundance? And that's when I got popped out. Joni, you probably got a minute to think about this. What do you think?
I guess I do like the quippy stuff. I do like the you know, sort of play on words, that kind of thing, the short marketing, promoting different events and things like that.
Yeah. Oh, Joni, can you, I'm so sorry. I just got a chat from Adam. Adam, to unmute yourself, if you tap the bottom of your screen in the bottom left, there's a mute button and you can just unclick it. Like it should have a red line through it and then just tap it and you'll unmute yourself. I'm sorry, Joni. So can you tell us a little bit more about some, again, the things that, like if someone were to give you an assignment of all, whether it's copywriting, whether it's writing the college essays like we talked about, anything that is sort of like, here's an assignment, please go do this. Is there any one or ones of those kinds of writing assignments that you love doing so much that you'd be so happy to do it for the majority of your time?
I do like the copywriting, but really I would be open to anything.
Okay, all right. So you have obviously a plethora of opportunities, you know, in terms of who you can serve and how you can serve. So for example, you mentioned the college essays, right? Well, clearly a lot of parents would pay some good money to have somebody help their kid, right, get into college. I have a colleague who did that very successfully. That was literally her business. In fact, she was so good at it that from there, she ended up launching another business to do early career coaching for college students. So while they were in college, helping them choose the major, and then as they were graduating, figuring out how they were going to, you know, careers to pursue, and then the resume and so forth. And I'm so sorry, Adam's writing in again. He doesn't see a red line on his smartphone. If you tap around, Adam, it's going to be in one of your pages. You might have to swipe to see where the mute button is, but it's definitely there. And Angela, I can't even think.
Yeah. Yeah, you might need to, I was just getting ready to send him a private chat. Yeah, you may need to swipe your phone to see it, but it's either at the bottom typically, and every once in a while it'll be at the top. And if it's at the top, it's gonna look like a megaphone icon. And if it has a red line, tap it and take the red line off.
So Joni, so that's one population you could be serving. So you're actually, the person who would be paying you would be the parents, not the kids. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting how you'd have to market yourself. And so a lot of ways you can do that, obviously, right? You can tap into like parent, like PTA, you know, parent groups, that kind of thing. But if you want to actually tap into that parent community to have access, right, so that they would understand, hey, you're there to help their kids. That's certainly one of many, many options. You also mentioned nonprofits. Have you done more on the charitable nonprofits, associations, any particular kind that you?
Both have done mission-oriented and professional organizations.
Okay, great. So do you have an existing network within those communities?
More in the mission oriented area. I took a lot of time off to raise a family, so a lot of the experience I have and people that I knew, that was a long time ago.
Okay, so for what it's worth, and Angela, I know you could speak to this as well, there are a lot of organizations now that are clamoring for great marketing support. All kinds. They want to promote themselves. So like Angela got to do, has done a lot of digital work with conferences and things. I know of a lot of marketing professionals who are busier than a 1-hour paper hanger right now, because it's just like people need to make money, whether it's a nonprofit, a for-profit, especially the nonprofits, and especially as it relates to fundraising. So you may want to consider reaching out to executive directors of small organizations who otherwise don't have necessarily a big communications team, and see if you can be of help to them, especially as it relates to donor communications, right? That's a specialty unto itself, right? Because you have to draw the donor's attention. And then even beyond that, you've got, like you said, professional societies, trade associations. The smaller the group, the more likely it is that they don't have a full-blown communications team. And even if they have one person, that person's probably, again, very, very busy, and often will need some outsourced support. Right? Is any of this resonating with you?
Oh yes, definitely.
That's great. That's great.
Now, I was asking Vicki and Peggy if they had any skill they wanted to explore. No? So is it Nancy and not Peggy?
Vicki, I think we can now hear you. Did you want to share one of your areas of brilliance?
It's interesting what you said about, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Interesting what you said about the marketing folks being very, very busy. That is my area of expertise. But I also have a real strong editorial background, as well as the marketing and the events. And what's the other one? So a ton of social media training in all of the platforms.
So you feel comfortable with social media? You
Yes.
said training. That's why I'm asking.
No, actually, Women in Technology was an organization that I was very active with for about 10 years. And all of their social media platforms I set up and ran for them the entire time I was active with the organization. So yeah, I'm pretty...
that is definitely a growth area, definitely. And you could get very niche down and say you specialize in social media for X, maybe it's, I'm trying to think of
like technology companies, right? Since you were with Women in Technology, that sounds like you've got some sort of tech background, right?
Yeah.
So the more niche, that's what Angel's trying to, say, the more niche you get, the more of a unique problem you're solving, and the more valuable you're going to actually be perceived by the client, because people like to hire specialists rather than generalists. If they know that you're part of their tribe, they're more likely to work with you than someone who's not.
Right.
But it was, I guess when you're saying, the tech companies, it's not that it's the, what the tech companies do. I mean, it's really, because you can learn whatever it is that the tech companies are working on. I mean, it's actually knowing the platforms and knowing what the content should be, on the different platforms, and how to repurpose the content. The problem is that I just don't know how to prove that I'm relevant, when I haven't been in this space for, almost 10 years.
So the last time you worked for Women in Technology was 10 years ago?
No, Women in Technology, and it was at a volunteer position. That's only been the last 4 years. I've only been out of not been a member of Women in Technology for the last 4 years. So let's say, prior to that, I was very active in the organization. So,
well, that's not as important as you having the skill. People may not even ask you, when was the last time you did something for Women in Technology? And if they don't, you shouldn't volunteer that information.
Right.
But But if you feel comfortable, because 4 years, a lot has changed in 4 years. But if you feel comfortable that you can jump right back into that, that is a very lucrative opportunity, because I know several people who actually, in fact, I know a couple who are doing just managing people's LinkedIn accounts, you know, helping them set appointments with prospective customers and helping them grow their influence, you know, doing the articles. That's all they do. They are making a fortune their first year out. They didn't have any experience, but what they had was boldness and confidence. And
that's where I'm sadly lacking right now.
well, that's where we want to build you up, because, you know, I don't care what it is, whether we're looking for a job, a gig, it doesn't matter. You know, being confident is something that, you know, I do a whole thing about mindset reset. And the only way you truly reset your mind is you have to hear something different about yourself. And if it's in your own voice, it's better. There are actually apps in the Google Play Store for mindset reset. Some of them, they will say something like, I am competent in, and they leave a space. And then you say after them, I am competent in social media, whatever it is. You might need to do something like that. Or you get your own affirmations and you paste them all up in your house. And every time you go to the refrigerator, you know, to look in the mirror, to do whatever, you say to yourself, I'm confident in social media. I know social media, whatever it is. But that's hearing is like the main way you retrain and retrigger your mindset. But you got to be confident. And you don't have that. Confidence doesn't mean that you're not shaking in your boots. You know, you can be shaking in your boots, 2 minutes for them to come back. But
if I
you
could
do
jump
it
in
afraid anyhow, right?
And so so then to bolster up your actual confidence, right? So there's the confidence, then there's the competence, right? You, especially since you used to have these relationships with the women in technology, which, look, 4 years isn't that long. I mean, you can just maybe gin up a couple of old ones. I actually am a volunteer with that. I've actually spoken to that organization a couple of times. And if you want some current volunteers, chat with me and I'll put you in touch. But in any event, go back and do some informational interviewing, right? Figure out what's going on actually in the tech world right now. What's going on at the companies that the women in technology members are working at. And maybe some of them will put you in touch with their communications team and let you know some of the marketing challenges that they have, since you can redig that well. Trust me, there's not a lot of dirt on that on 4 years, right? You can scrape that away and get to the well water and go gen up some relationships. So like I said, if you want a couple of current ones, I'm happy to, you know, toss them your way. So feel free to chat with me. But yeah, I think doing that informational interview will go a long way to getting your confidence up, not just your confidence.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Nancy, I don't know if you are actually still here, or is that just your photo? Because sometimes they put you in a group and your picture stays in the other group.
Can you hear me?
We
Yes.
can actually. We're
Okay,
going to be
yes.
broken back
Yes.
out.
I got on very late, and I'm just sitting listening to. I'm not sure how I want to participate.
Okay.
But so I actually am just listening.
Okay.
I work a little. I work in the gig. I help support a little nonprofit here in Baltimore, and enjoy it very much. But I'm quite interested in this topic, so I was anxious to listen in.
And you're welcome to just listen in. I didn't want to overlook you, that's all. But
Yes.
if
Thank you
feel
so
more
much.
comfortable just listening is perfectly fine.
Thank you. I'm glad this is happening, and I'm glad that this is available, and I found this. So
Yeah,
this is great.
And Nancy will be showing you some other opportunities when we end, about other ways you can get involved. So looks like we're going to be everybody's going to be coming back in just a second into our main room, and once we get everybody back, then Angela will keep on going with her presentation.
Yeah, I think they should be coming back, right?
Yep, they are. Yep, they're one by one.
Okay, yeah, I see it.
I think we're good. All right, Angela, all yours.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. Does anybody want to share anything about their experience in the small group? If you do, you can unmute yourself and just share how your small group went. Is there anybody who wants to share? Was there anything that maybe one of your group members suggested that was enlightening or a possibility or an aha moment for you?
Yeah, I'll share. This is Edith.
Thank you, Edith.
Yeah, hi. Okay, so the group I was in, I was telling them what gets me. I mean, I've been a freelancer for 5 years. The work has been kind of uneven. The pay has been very uneven. And what I said, you know, even though I've worked in technical writing, what gets me excited is really business matchmaking. You know, helping people, connecting people with resources to get their ideas and projects off the ground. Because I even put something in the chat to you about a grant for companies that do digitizing what you do. So one of the ladies suggested to get certified for branding to help companies with their branding. So she's going to send me a referral over LinkedIn. So so that's where I am. But I've been working as a technical writer and business infrastructure. So I've been doing a lot of different things, but it's just focusing on things that, you know, give me excitement, helping people get themselves up the road.
Well, you know, I'm thinking that as a business matchmaker, the thing that you said was so exciting to you. I'm wondering if you couldn't maybe partner with some existing organizations or build your own organization and then monetize it, of course. But I'm thinking because, you know, there is a real need for that kind of thing to happen, especially when you're talking about this new onslaught of solopreneurs. They're going to be coming into freelancing and building businesses and things like that. And they may not have those connections because they're coming out of corporate or the government or what have you. They may not have those connections. So I'm just wondering, Shira, you're in the association world. Are there associations that she might be able to partner with for some kind of business matchmaking?
Well, it depends. Yeah, Edith, a lot of that depends on your areas of expertise. If you have certain industries that you are particularly familiar with, where you've developed an expertise in, sometimes associations can leverage those skill sets because there's literally an association for everything, like no joke, there really is. And so associations, because they're either niched in an industry or niched in a profession, if you come to the table with that kind of skill set or, excuse me, knowledge base around that industry or professional area. So it's hard for me to say which one, right? Because I'd have to know more about your background, but I would encourage you to Google, and I mean, literally you can do this. You can pick an industry that you have background in. You can literally type in something like American Association of, or National Association of, or American Society of, or any of those combinations of words, and literally that, whatever that niche is, will probably be the association of widget makers, right? So I would encourage you to go that route, at least to connect it.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for sharing, Edith. Would anybody else like to share their experience on a breakout group, or does anyone have a skill, a brilliance, I should say, because it doesn't have to be a skill. You have a brilliance you'd like us to do some brainstorming around. Anyone want to volunteer? Okay.
I'll
If not,
volunteer.
hi, Lynette. Thank
Hi.
you.
Hi,
Tell us
Angela.
about your one area of brilliance.
My one area of brilliance is the ability to find information, to find a needle in the haystack.
I'm having a hard time, Lynette, hearing you. Can you get a little closer to your speakers?
Can you hear me
Your
now?
mic? Go ahead.
My area of brilliance is to be able to find information, like find a needle in a haystack when.
Now I can hear people speaking.
Um,
So you're a researcher?
I can find information generally. My career track is not a researcher. That's not what I do professionally, but I do it naturally, innately. When growing up, I spent a lot of time in the library. I've always loved getting information. So whenever I talk to, family or friends, if they're not able to accomplish something because they don't have the information on it, they've hit a roadblock, usually I can find something for them that helps them move forward with what they're trying to accomplish.
So if, are you also a writer?
I am not.
You're not, okay. Because I'm trying to think about, with this exercise to apply your brilliance, you take one area and then you see in this, you plop it in the circle on this page, and then you see how you can use it to support other businesses or consumers for, to get some gig work out of it. So I usually ask people, you're saying you can find information really quickly. See, to me, I'm thinking like that's a skill of research. I mean, is that categorizing it correctly?
Yes, that is categorizing it correctly, yes. I initially, when I first started my career way back when, one of the areas I worked in was paralegal. I was able to help them solve or add to the cases where they thought they were not going to be able to find the information. For instance, there was a witness they thought they wouldn't be able to find, and I was able to find that witness after they were looking for a couple of years, and I started with them. Soon after I started with them, I found the witness. So,
okay. So what I'm thinking about is a person who does research. I'm thinking about who needs research right now. And as I look at this chart for the gig assessment, I usually ask people, well, what can you create with your research? Is there a particular industry where you really know, or you can really find hard to find information? What can you complement? So if you're not a writer, maybe you can partner with a writer, and maybe you guys can offer research for all of these new businesses that are going to be starting up because of the COVID virus. All of the indications, at least, and I'm sure nobody really knows what's going to happen after, if this thing ever ends, but all of the indications are saying that there's going to be all of these new startup companies, all of these new solopreneur entities that will need research done. Research to find out what's going on with their competitors, what's going on with their industry. If there's anything like what they're thinking about doing, they need research done. If they're, building a business and going after investment money, part of that business plan is really research. So I'm thinking you could get together with a writer and you can partner and look to see if there are any opportunities that way. You can also, again, it depends on what you like, because you just need to kind of think about what would your niche be. But another area where people use research all the time, somebody mentioned it earlier, is people going back to school, college applications. Parents are always looking for people who can help them research how do they find money for their child and how do they find the right university. And trust me, my son just got out of college. They spend a lot of money on that. So if you did the research for them and came up with like a template of how you would lay it all out, since you you know, you said writing is not necessarily your strength, you can connect with people who are in the education industry and see if you can be a value add to other people who are working in that industry. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Actually, Lynette, I'm not sure if you saw in the chat box that Edith wrote to all of us, but wrote to you that because of her business matchmaking, she's a tech writer, you could partner with her. So there you go. Here's a match right here.
Fantastic.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna, the other thing I want to let you know is that in our last meetup like this, we had a meetup a couple of weeks ago, and the second half of that meetup was actually about market research. So it was helping individuals like all of you on this call to educate folks on the need for market research. And Heidi, one of our volunteers, did a beautiful presentation, and it's actually on our website. If you go to the training center, there is, so boomerworks.org, go to the training center, and then the third tab down says market research. You can read that, and that might actually gin up some ideas for you of ways you can help other businesses do their market research.
Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you, thank you.
I have a suggestion as well, because a friend of mine does this. You could look into other companies or agencies that support patent research.
Yes.
Because people that love to dig and dig and dig and find that little nugget of information are invaluable in patent research. A friend of mine does patent research, and that's a key thing.
Thank you.
That's really good. That's a good idea for you, Lynette. I mean, if it's something that you're interested in, but you see how everybody has something to add to your brilliance. So the goal of this is to encourage you to really share your brilliance with other people, because they can add to it. They have connections, they know people, you know, they have ideas that we haven't even thought about. So as you go through this exercise and trying to figure out what would the market bear, part of that is really looking at, what do you have in your hand? What do you have in your hand? What resources are already there? I think somebody's drawing on the screen. So we might want to get rid of that. Okay, guys, so let's get to where the gigs are. I want to talk to you about where the gigs are now. And I hope you guys understand why I have been encouraging you to think about the gig economy, because it is just going to be a way for you to earn some additional money, whether it's a stopgap measure or some people build gig pyres, which I'll talk about in just a moment. So in terms of where the gigs are right now and where the opportunities are, I never fill in these slides because I try to stay current whenever I do a presentation. So the first thing I think about is always what's essential, what's extremely important and necessary right now. We're still in the midst of COVID virus. We're gonna be there for a while. Whether the numbers go down or not, this economy, some people are calling it the COVID economy, or the last great recession, the next great recession. We haven't gotten out of that, and we're not going to get out of that for months to come, maybe even a year or so. So when you think about the essential things that are needed in this economy, here's what the experts are telling us for right now. And some of these you probably can figure out. They're talking about healthcare and public health operations, human services operations, essential infrastructure companies are going to be in great demand, government functions, food stores, medicine stores, beverage stores, anything to do with agriculture, charitable and social services, religious entities, and ceremonial, burial ceremonial functions, and the media. Now, these are areas where they say these are still essential. Now, when you think about these, don't think, oh, I don't know anything about agriculture. You don't have to know anything about agriculture per se. You can take your skill and apply it to agriculture, because agriculture, they still do social media, they still do project management, they still do IT work, they still have a website. So whatever your skill is, when you start looking at these essential industries, they still need everything that people do. And let me give you an example. So the big thing now, and it's not just the government, but it's certainly, you know, local county departments, they're hiring all of these contract tracers. There are IT companies who are hiring people who do coding, build websites that are connected to the tracing, because they want to sell those products to the government. There are also private organizations, because they need so many of these people that they, you know, the government can't process stuff very fast. So now they're looking to other organizations who do like the certification for the various levels in the government, the security clearances. They're going to the companies that do security clearance work to see if they can't get staffing to do this contract tracing, because they've already got some of that skill set. And so I know someone who was in the security clearance world as a gig worker. She would go out and visit the people. You know how they do when you're getting a government clearance. Well, it was real easy for her to jump over to contract tracing because she took the same skill set with her. And some of them will say, oh, we want you to have a little bit of a health background, but trust, she got 3 opportunities just like that. Because this is like essential, it's something that's happening now, it's something that's happening fast. So think about what can you do in those areas. The other thing I think about is growth. What are the futurists predicting to be growth industries? Now, we're not totally sure that this is going to come true. I mean, it makes logical sense what I'm about to share with you. But think about how you just take your same skill set and apply it maybe a different way in a different industry. But growth industries, anything that has to do with the supply chain, anything that has to do with groceries, grocery delivery. And I'm not saying that you should be a delivery person, but I'm saying that they still need to promote those places. They still need to have their website maintained. They still need researchers. They still need all of these organizations, all of these industries, they still need all of the functions of business. The Census Bureau, during COVID, people didn't do their census. So they're about to hire a whole bunch of management types to kind of figure out how we're going to get this census done. Cybersecurity, huge. Content is still king online. You just need to figure out, any of you guys writers, you just need to figure out how you're going to connect with the organizations that are looking for your particular skill. You know, don't be a general writer. Write on something specifically, be a technical writer, be a project manager writer, or be a grant writer, you know, be very specific. Anything with transportation, and this is everything, companies that do personal transportation, you know, they're coming up with all of these things now, especially because of COVID. Nobody wants to get on, you know, subways. Uber and Lyft and all of those guys, they're going to all come back strong, because at least you can only be one person riding in an Uber by yourself as opposed to being on a bus. Professional services, financial services, they're predicting that they're going to come back strong, because now everybody's worried about their money. What do you do with your money? You know, give me more advice, what to do with my money. Manufacturing, a lot of manufacturing organizations are turning over. Anything that has to do with logistics, shipping, insurance, those are industries that they are predicting to be growth industries. Now, here are some actual types of jobs that were listed to be up and rising over the next few years. They're saying they're going to need tons of these people, of course, IT workers, people in the health industry, researchers around biomedical issues, software developers. Instacart said they need people doing all kinds of jobs for them. Energy, anything that has to do with cost savings, if there are companies that somehow help consumers and businesses cut their costs, all of those are supposed to be growth. Digital skills, HR talent, a big need for HR talent, because now you got remote workers, and if you've got that expertise of managing remote workers, they want to know about that. They want to know about how do they source more contract workers. They want to know about how do they build up the morale at this time. And policy writers, you know, all of these policy writers around COVID, how are you going to keep these employees safe? Strategy consultants, that's supposed to be really big for these companies that, you know, they're surviving, but they need to make some quick changes so that they can survive longer. So those are just some of the areas that you guys want to be familiar with. And what I always say to people is keep your eye on the news, but not so you can hear just all of the negative reports. Keep your eye on the news so you can listen out for opportunities. If you can think of how you can apply your brilliance and anything that's essential or anything that's going to be growing, you will probably be able to get gigs very quickly.
Angela, we had a chat about to ask if you happen to have that list of essential services that could be provided. If it was just an informal list, everybody can view the video. But if you happen to have something that was more formal and you could send it to us, we can get it out.
Yeah, I don't because that's why I don't put it on a slide, because it's fluid. You know, I just do research and I add, subtract, whatever. So yeah, pay attention to the recording. So the gig economy, the gig marketplace. Some of you guys may be familiar with that. I'm not sure if you are or not. I want to do a really quick poll to see if any of you guys have already been working online. Can we launch that poll very quickly? Do we have the poll?
Online, yeah.
Okay, so have you ever used an online gig platform is the question. Just let us know, yes or no. I'm just curious because that'll tell me how much detail I need to go into. Are we ready for the results? Okay, 74% have not. That's what I suspected. So anyway, this is the best kept secret, guys. There's this thing called the online gig marketplace. It's a real marketplace. There are hundreds of stores, if you will, in this marketplace. And this is, you know, I love it. I wrote my book on it because these are people who are looking for support for workers right now. They have money. And they're not just delivery service and ridership. They are companies who have contracts with the top 100 companies in the United States. You know, top talent. That's one of the gig sites that I refer to a lot because they're looking for the creme of the crop in terms of business consultation. Anything you do, I don't care what you do. If you're in medicine, law, graphic design, writing, there's lots of writing jobs. on these gig sites, lots of writing jobs. It doesn't matter what you do. You can find gig sites that have opportunities right now. And a lot of mature people don't know that this thing even exists. And this is the thing. A lot of experts are predicting that this online gig marketplace is going to be the way talent is sourced in the future, in the very near future, because of COVID virus. A lot of these companies now have like an enterprise level offering where they're going after the big corporate, 100, 500 and saying, don't go to a headhunter, don't go to a regular staffing company. You can come to us. We're much cheaper and we have the same people. We have the same people. So it's just like looking for any kind of job online. It's the same kind of process. So another reason why I love it, because you already have the tools. You already have a computer, a smartphone, internet, email, your work tools, whatever kind of work you do, and a payment system. Most of you probably already have a payment system, even if you only have PayPal. So you've already got the tools. It doesn't, most of them, they won't charge you anything until you get a job. And they are going to take a percentage of what you make because it's just like they are doing your marketing for you. But they're inexpensive ways to get quick opportunities. So this whole concept that I came up with of the gig hire, and basically I've done it my whole life. When I had my consulting firm, I just put teams together when I needed to do whatever I needed to do. And when those projects ended, that project team went away. I never had one staff person. I had about 14 preferred subcontractors. And you can do the same thing with your gig hire, whether you do it online or offline. But I have this process that I call talent. Try partnerships. Remember, I just said to the one lady, can you partner with someone? Think broadly. It's not just what you can do. It's what you can do, and you think about all the things around what you can do to make a broader package, right? So, apps. I know some people don't like apps, but apps are absolutely essential if you're going to be doing this online marketplace, because people, when they're hiring, they want someone right now. You can't wait 2 or 3 days later to go and see if you can apply for a job, because most of the time those jobs turn over just like that. So if you've got
can I give a quick personal example of that? I just used an online platform to hire somebody to do video editing, and I reached out to 5 people, and the first person who wrote me back is the one that I went with, and the 4 other people missed out because he responded just like that.
Yeah, you got to have the app because it goes fast. Learn from the top earners. This is the great thing about most of these platforms. The top earners are braggers. So they're the ones who answer all the questions. They put up the blog posts. They say, anybody having trouble, I'm making so much money, just come to me, find out how to do it. So go to them and find out what their best practices are. They're very friendly. Your expertise. Most of these, most of them, I won't say most, many of them will allow you to bring whatever expertise you already have onto their platform. There are some that will only allow you to showcase your expertise from jobs that you got actually on their platform. But you want to be able to highlight your expertise, and you want to do it in such a way that it's hitting metrics and you're using as few words as possible, because you're not going to get that much space to talk about yourself. Networking online. We should all be experts with that with COVID virus. How do we network online? We do it the same way we do it offline. It's just that we're not seeing the people. But if you're like a professional association or something like that has online networking opportunities, go, continue to go, meet people, tell them what you're doing, tell them, that I'm stepping out and I'm going to be doing, this gig work, contract work. This is what I do. And then you're going to have to trust the process, because it doesn't happen overnight. And I know a lot of people who have done online gig work, they'll say, oh, I tried that for like 3 weeks and I didn't get a job. Well, you probably are gonna have to do more than 3 weeks. It really does depend what platform you're on, what your skill set is, what's the high demand for it. There are some of these platforms people go on and they get a job in 4 or 5 days. There are some where people are on, they don't get a job for 3 months. It really does depend, but you wanna try to find the ones that match up with your skill set. So I call these income maximizers. So, you know, mindset reset. You just got to think differently because now you are a business person. You're not an employee. And I know BoomerWorks does a whole big thing about the mindset. You've got to change the way you think. Thought leadership. Anybody that hires you, whether it's for a job or a gig or whatever else, they are going to look for you online. They are going to go to your social media. So make sure that you populate that with really good stuff that highlights all the great things that you've been doing. Product service mix. Whatever you do, whether you're going to do a product or you're going to do a service, you need to have them both. You need to have them both. That's the way you begin to really earn a lot of money. You need an income plan. You know, I do a training on, I do a whole thing on income plans where I take people from soup to nuts, from nothing at the beginning, at the end of that training, they have their income plan. That's the most important thing when you're talking about gig work. And it's not that you have to sit down and do this long drawn out business plan. There are some elements of it you need to understand, but you need an income plan more than anything else. You need to know how to sell. If you can't sell, partner with somebody who can. You can maybe sell their stuff, they sell your stuff. I know a lot of people do that because they don't want to sell. What can you teach? Teaching is huge online. You would be surprised at how people are making money teaching. You know, there's Master Quilter that I just found out a couple days ago who's made like, you know, 6 figures in like 7 months teaching quilting. I didn't even know people wanted to learn how to quilt. So what can you teach? It doesn't have to be your skill. It can be a hobby. All right. I just kind of ran through this very quickly. So I'm willing to stay as long as anybody needs me to stay. But what do you do next? If you want to talk a little bit more about what you can do with your own brilliance, I'm happy to offer you guys a 30-minute complimentary consultation. You can just email at info@tkc.com. And during that time, we're going to try to map out as much as we can within 30 minutes. We're going to try to map out what are some very concrete steps you need to take next. And I'm also going to be sharing with people some of the resources that I had during the consultation to help them take this a little bit further. So just email info@tkc.com. If you're interested in the online gig economy, you can get my book, Do the Hustle Without the Hassle. It's available on Amazon. And this is actually a clickable link if you'd like to order it. But it's been going all around the world. And I'm actually doing a presentation in Africa via online training. I think it's next week. Yeah. So everybody is getting into the gig economy. It's really fun.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You said the link is in the chat. I can't get to it. Yes.
Okay. See up here? If you click on buy from Amazon, you should be able to go right up.
Yeah, I'm clicking. It's not going.
You won't go?
No.
Well, just look for it on Amazon.
Okay.
It's a clickable link. I don't know why it's not going. Technology. But also on my website, you'll see it. And then if you want to connect, guys, this is all of my information. And with that, I'm happy to take a few questions if you guys would like to. You can unmute yourself if you have a question, if I can help you with anything. or you can put it in a chat function if you don't want to talk. Edith says, what do you think of Rat Race Rebellion? I'm familiar with them. And Edith, I say the best online gig site for you is the one that more closely links up with whatever it is you're offering. So there are specialized sites, you know, for everything, IT work, for writing, for lawyers, for doctors. So you can find sites that are very specific to your industry. And the reason why I tell people to do that, because you can also find all of those type of jobs on a lot of other sites. But you would be surprised, you go on some of those sites and the people who are hiring might be organizations that you already know. And you can just pick up the phone and say, hey, I saw this contract on blah, blah, blah site, you know, I'm interested. And then, you know, you can rise to the top. Or you might see, you know, places where you've worked before, and you can go call up an old supervisor and say, hey, you know, I can do this for you. So it's the one that's best for you is the one where you get hired.
Gotcha.
Any other question? Okay, either you guys are asleep or I'm good.
Well, I didn't want to bombard everything, but I just want to make sure. So we can email you for a 30-minute consultation, and then if we need more, we can be open to scheduling and us contracting with you for if we need other mentoring.
Yes, yes.
Okay, all right. Because I definitely, I'm doing something very wrong, and I need some one-on-one help. So yes, okay.
Guys, you know what I really will say to you is, you know, I know a lot of times baby boomers, they don't want to do the online gig economy because they're like, oh my gosh, you know, more online stuff. But this is what I would say. If you're close to retirement, maybe you can have that kind of attitude and, you know, you're just waiting for that magic number and you're done. Even though I do know, I'm a gerontologist, I do know that a significant percentage of people who retire come back into the workforce, sometimes because they're bored, sometimes because they need income. But what I would say to you is you've got to learn how to do things the new way. You have to learn how to do things the new way because we will be left behind if we don't. It's just no way around it. You know, this COVID virus is probably speeding things up. It's caused everybody to learn how to use Zoom, you know, and it is causing all of the corporations to rethink how they do this whole thing called work. You know, they're rethinking it, and they're rethinking it from their own advantage. So if it ends up being that they want to hire a lot more contractors and not rehire staff, like most of us think they will, you've got to be open to that. You've got to be ready to go for that. And if what everybody believes is happening is that these online marketplaces are going to be a solution because they are actively going after corporations, and corporations are interested in saving money, all of them. So if this is where they're going, then you got to get there. You got to get there. You're too talented. You're too brilliant. You have too much to offer not to explore where the gigs are.
Can I say something, Angela, real quick?
Sure.
Sure. So I read something on, I read a lot of information, and what larger Fortune 500 corporations are actually recruiting retirees to come back into the workforce, right? Because they're not they need people with a more 360 view. Okay.
Right.
And you're right. Every generation, this is the first time that every generation now is in the workforce.
Yeah.
Okay. And you know, learn. I mean, I'm influenced and encouraged by CEOs who still ran their companies, like people like Warren Buffett, who are in his 80s, and this Stanley Harmon, who was in his 90s. You know, so I look at things from a Christian point of view. It's like, how old is God? You know, and this thing that life stops.
Yeah.
We have a lot to, especially now, if you're a minority, there's so much money being poured out to women and minorities right now that you need to experience people who are used to this as to how to direct this funding. So it won't be wasted. So it will last for the next generations. Anyway, that's my 2 cents into the whole.
And I agree with you. And one thing that I will add, there are a lot of unretirement parties because some companies are figuring out they're losing their thought leadership when, you know, people leave, and they call it the golden Rolodex because you got all the connections in the industry or whatever. So you do have that. You do have that. But also what you have is a lot of age discrimination in employment. And I'm sure probably most of you on this webinar have experienced it or know somebody who has. So one of the things they say is that people 50 and older don't understand technology and don't want to learn technology. And that's not true. It depends on the person. So one way that you can show that you are tech savvy is to use the tools that they're making available. I mean, you're not going to, you know, go knock on somebody's door these days and hand them your resume unless you know them. Oh, Procter & Gamble, I heard you were hiring. You're not going to do that because they're not going to respond, right? We all know that. So whatever tools are available, those are the ones we have to learn how to use. And with that, I would say thank you.
Thank you, Angela. Well, you have definitely showcased your brilliance to us. So round of applause. Thank you so much. And we're just going, yes, see, I see the hands clapping. So just to kind of wrap us up here, for those of you who weren't able to join us at the beginning of this presentation, I just want to remind you or let you know that this PowerPoint presentation is going to be available immediately after this this session at BoomerWorks.org, and you see the link here. We will also have the recording on our website and YouTube by the end of the week. And I actually neglected to actually introduce Angela properly, although she did an amazing job introducing herself. So if you get this presentation in the PowerPoint, you will see, on the website, you will see her bio as well. And just to sort of keep you up to date as to where we are going next, if you are serious about pursuing self-employment, be it through the online gig economy or consulting or any other form of non-W2 work, we invite you to continue to participate with BoomerWorks. We are working through steadily what we're calling our lean business plan template. We are offering various deep dive sessions on that, and you can find that on boomerworks.org. And then go to the resources button, and underneath there, there's a tab that says business plan template, and you can follow along with us. And so we will be promoting these free meetups to help educate you on all the various ways that you can continue to grow your business. And we will also be offering in the future some more networking opportunities for those of you who would like to connect with each other and share resources, much like what happened today. If you'd like to connect with us, if you have questions, info@boomerworks.org. If you'd like to donate, we would very much value that because we are a volunteer organization, but it still costs money to run this organization. So we do value your investment. We are always open to more volunteers, and we would also encourage you, if you haven't yet already done so, to go to our website, to the Join tab, and join our community so you can continue to stay abreast of what we're doing. Even if you've joined Meetup, we would love to have you as part of our community. It's absolutely free. So with that, we wish you a blessed evening. We thank you all for participating here, and we hope to see you again at a future BoomerWorks meeting. Thanks very much. Good night. Bye.
Good night, everybody.
Night. Thank you
Good
very
night.
much.